Sri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Ram. Hi, my name is Dennis Hawk, and I am the host of The Revival, and along with Dr. Kari Uselman, where we dive into the healing power of sound and music. With a commitment to connect these islands of hope, the yoga, the kirtan, the sound healers, and so many people that are doing this beautiful work right now. Now, Kari.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. And thank you so much, Missy, for being here. Our guest today is Missy Balsam from Naples, Florida, right? You're in Naples.
Yeah.
And we're truly honored that you're here today with us on our Revival podcast that's all about the healing power of sound. And, I know you've known Dennis for a while, and I've gotten to know you through Dennis and looking on your website and your bio. And now just the few minutes we've had here, like you radiate such joy and vibrancy. And I know that part of your essence is woven into how you bridge yoga and music and self-expression. And that just beams from you, which is so exciting, to just witness. Yeah. And I know part of your story is like you had this high-powered career in New York and LA, and then you found yourself in Naples where you are now, and everything changed. You're like, I'm done with that. And you got into yoga and then teaching yourself the harmonium and writing music.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, you started teaching yoga in 2007 and as a personal healing practice in the beginning, and then you started teaching in 2007, and that's become your service work along with weaving the music and your story. When I look at what comes across as your life purpose, as you've healed from the inside, you help people recognize that they can do it too. You're a model for personal growth and stepping into your true power. And you do that through your yoga practice. And I know you've brought that into your own Jewish heritage, and it comes out in your beautiful music, which has like a scaffolding through it from the beginning to now. Yeah, so that was really fun to see and learn about you and feel the radiance that comes from you. And as a kirtan artist and singer-songwriter, you're also a spiritual teacher. I know you've released an album, a kirtan album called Revealed, and you have several singles. And I have listened to them on Spotify. I know you're on other platforms, but it was really inspiring not only to hear the music, but to look at the words that go with everything. And then the Sanskrit also that reflects the words in English. So you have this beautiful merging and blending. And what I really appreciate about you as a human soul on planet right now is that you really have come here. You have traversed this path. You have great courage. You're so creative, and you're devoted to service for yourself and for others. And as I listened and read more about you, it's really a reminder that it's never too late to step into our soul's calling. It's always there for us, and it's always calling us home to who we are and our truth. And you express that so beautifully through yoga and sound and music. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, please do.
I feel like, okay, dismissed. I feel like you.
No, you're amazing.
That's so beautifully. Thank you. I'm really touched by what you have gleaned from just your brief journey into getting to know me and my music and who I am, what I share through, I guess, my music primarily, because it does come from my soul. It's just it's just a wellspring of my essence, I guess you could say. it kind of came from this deep place that I didn't even know was there. If you had asked me before I started this journey, when I was in my, like you said, corporate, wearing the suit and living in New York City and traveling around selling to litigation attorneys, if I, could see into the future and see that I would be teaching yoga and spirituality and singing about spirituality and chanting in Sanskrit,
Mm-hmm.
never in a million years would I have imagined that my life would take that direction. So I do like to model that for people because I think that, like you said so eloquently, we all have a soul's calling, but I think unfortunately a lot of people don't tap into it or are afraid to tap into it or can't hear because they haven't had the practice or the experience of going within
Yeah.
to listen to that calling, to listen to the
Mm-hmm.
still small voice inside, right? So that inner knowing, the inner guidance system that we all have.
Mm-hmm.
And somehow with I believe God's blessing by spirit moving through me, I just tapped into that through pain, really, which
Yeah.
I think a lot of us come to a spiritual path through pain, through darkness, through a dark night of the soul, which that's reflected in the lyrics of my song Burn, quite explicitly, moving through,
Yeah.
letting things burn through like old pain, old trauma, old stories, and coming out the other side, hopefully stronger and more empowered, knowing who you really are.
You
So
know that's my favorite song, don't you?
I do.
You-
That's I do know that's your favorite song. That's why I just kind of I think it was right at the top of my mind first. Because Dennis and I have shared many conversations about the path of healing and recovery and moving through painful parts that are kind of shrouded in darkness. And
Mhm.
it's a path not for the faint of heart. The spiritual
Right.
path
No.
is to do that deep searching within and looking at that stuff that's difficult to look at and difficult to feel. It's like I said, it's not for the faint of heart, but I think the rewards are just so amazing if you can kind of take that deep dive. But it's not easy for sure.
No,
It's
No,
not
and
easy.
you've done it courageously, and
Oh,
you reflect that, Missy, you really, really do. And so just by your frequency alone in the space that you share with others, it enlivens something in them, it awakens something, and it gives them um, courage themselves through your own courage.
thank
Mhm.
you. I hope so. I love what you said about being a model. I hope to do that. I've been blessed to I have a career teaching yoga classes, which I've done
Mhm.
for 18 years now. But it's
Nice.
funny, I mean, I don't think of myself as a teacher of fitness, like a fitness
Mhm.
Mhm.
instructor. I mean, I'm one of, where at the main location where I teach in Pelican Bay in Naples, there's personal trainers and there's Pilates teachers and there's, Zumba teachers. And I'm the yoga teacher. But I don't really think of myself as just like a yoga teacher. I think that yoga is the vehicle through which I can
Yes.
model,
Mhm.
like you said, and share just my energy and my essence and what I've hopefully just transmitting that through the vehicle of yoga and also my songs because I sing kirtan in my yoga classes.
I love it.
So much mine. I'm always little, I don't know
Mhm.
why. I'm always a little shy to play my own music in my
Mhm.
own classes. So I sing along with, my favorite kirtan artists in class, but I think people feel that energy transmission not only in what I'm speaking and teaching and instructing about being present and mindful and just paying attention to your breath and here I am the mantra just here I am I interweave that a lot into my classes but also sharing through just the frequency of my voice I think and just the love that comes from my heart when I sing I think that also plays a role in just how I'm able to hopefully help people heal wherever they are on their own path. So that's my intention anyway.
I love it that you sing in class. That piece is fantastic. By the way, it was fun for me because I've known you for a while, to actually, look through your history and see the thread,
Yeah.
that runs through, and some of the things that we have in common. No wonder we connected. Your degree in psychology from Emory, and I ran a counseling agency for 20 some years.
Hmm.
There's that piece. And and then when I was listening to Revealed, your Kirtan album, from beginning to end, there's a metamorphosis. You took what you learned in psychology, especially the psychodrama, you put it to work in that album,
Yeah.
and it just one by one by one, it's like this flower unfolding, and it was just beautiful to kind of experience it, knowing some of that history, especially psychodrama, because I did a lot of group therapy and used that tool a lot.
Let's talk
And
about that for a second. So
okay,
that's really fascinating because you and I haven't talked about psychodrama before.
no,
And it was a very brief period. It was, a year-long internship that I did, coming right out of my, college experience, having a bachelor's degree. And I was part of an intern group of, I think 8 to 10. I can't remember exactly how many. Everyone else had a master's. I was the only one that just had a bachelor's degree. I'm 21
Huh?
years old when I graduated from college. Like, and I'm working at St. Elizabeth's Hospital in Washington, D.C., where John Hinckley was
oh,
incarcerated.
oh, jeez,
We all remember John Hinckley, right?
yep,
Um, I'm dating myself now, but so it's interesting. I mean, because psychodrama is it's something that a lot of people don't know about, but it's such a powerful modality for therapy and
hmm
transformation, and it's all about being present. It has so much to do with yoga, honestly.
yes, yes. That was the connection I wanted to make, because I think, when I think of the sequence of on the mat, the sequences of poses, it
Mhm.
is psychodrama. The
Well,
metaphors that
the
people are going through.
metaphors, and
Yeah.
also what struck me when you mentioned psychodrama, which I wanted to share with everybody, is that a big part of psychodrama is role playing. So it's
Mhm.
basically role playing therapy. And we take on different roles, and we have different masks, right? That we, different personas, the different versions of the false self in a way. And so I just recognized, which I don't think I even grasped that before you just mentioned that I just sort of had a little epiphany about so many of my songs, like the messages in my songs, like Speak Your Truth being an example. I
Mhm.
see so much fear around, everyone's trying to hide, not being their true self.
Right.
And so not realizing how much, that past experience. I mean, obviously all my life experience informed my lyrics and my music, but that particular experience I think really informed so much of who I've become, because it was so powerful and so transformative being so young and having that experience of working with really, really troubled individuals, schizophrenics and very mentally, um, ill. I guess I don't know if that's the right way of saying it now, but it was a really remarkable experience and definitely played a big part in my path and my journey moving
Right.
forward. Starting off with that, I always had that desire to help people, I think, heal on some level, because I think just from the background that I came from, Dennis and I have talked about this quite a bit,
Mhm.
my the family that I grew up with, and it all goes back to the family, right? The
Yeah,
childhood
it does.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yes.
It just does. So, there was a lot of stuff there that I think I was confused about and trying to work through when I was very young, and I didn't really understand a lot at that time. And I think that informed my desire to study psychology, obviously, to, heal
Yeah.
thyself, like just try to
Well,
figure.
and that's what I saw in the, it's like, because I didn't put that piece together
Mhm.
until, like okay, she studied psychology, she did psychodrama, which is a very, very powerful tool. And then she did the work on herself. It came out in the Revealed album. You are doing the work of a psychologist when you're doing yoga.
Through
You're
you.
using music, you're using, the spirituality, it's, and a lot of it's subtle in yoga, because you're not sitting across from somebody having a dialogue, but in that movement of body, soul, and spirit. It's all happening at the same time. You're doing what you studied to do and got a degree in. You're just
Which
doing
is
it on the mat.
amazing, really, right? It like
Yeah.
doesn't, looking from the outside in, you wouldn't think that. And I was so conditioned. I don't remember if I kind of mentioned that in my bio, but I felt so conditioned growing up to like go to the right school and, get this job and then move ahead and, and have the perfect resume and, like stay at least a year. It was just very like it had to fit into like
A box.
a
Yeah.
box, a preset expected plan. And I followed that because that's what was expected of me. And I was always like a good girl, I just always did what was expected of me. And I didn't really think anything else. I didn't really know what else there was, and that's why I said in the beginning, like the path that I ended up taking, never, would I have imagined that I would go this way, but that I would actually, it's kind of, a full circle going back to really where I started and just having this desire to understand myself, to heal myself, and then in turn share that healing, hopefully, and help others do the same, you know.
Mm. And what I really noted in your music is that in going through what is referred oftentimes to the dark night of the soul,
Mhm.
you flowed through that, dissolving the stories, yet keeping the wisdom to support others when you hold space. So it's not only you do so much more, and what you do, what I'm hearing, Missy, is that you're a profound space holder for people to feel safe to do that inner work and move it like a somato emotional release through their bodies.
Mhm.
And if something comes out, and maybe you want to speak to this, how you address it with music, um, or however you do in your classroom, I can imagine that sometimes people would have an emotional release in your classroom when they hear the music or are in the pose.
Sometimes,
Mhm.
sometimes um I think that I'm very conscious of sort of weaving it in a subtle way so
Mm.
that, so as not to overwhelm, because healing can
Are
be
scary.
a
Yeah.
little scary and
Mhm.
overwhelming. And I do mention that at times that stuff can come up
Yeah.
and, we hold deeply held issues, issues in the tissues, right? we,
Right.
we hold the stuff in the body. And when we stretch and when we breathe and when we release, there's that mind, body, spirit connection. So, of course, when we're opening up the body and stretching meaning going beyond where we were before, right? That's implicit in that definition of stretching, going
Mm.
beyond,
Our
growing,
comfort zone. You're beyond the
going
comfort
beyond the
zone.
comfort zone, right? And
Mhm.
so, interestingly, I think people feel that. I like to be sort of, I mean, I do express it and I do teach that, but I think that I'm very careful to kind of weave it in a subtle, not so hitting you over the head way. Because
Gentle.
gently, gently,
Gently.
my I'm in Naples, Florida, and the population that I teach is primarily an older population. And I say older in a very general sense because, we're all older than someone, right? I mean, I'm older than I was when I started teaching, that's for sure.
Right.
Um, but there's a lot of, stuff that we bring in to, somebody that is 75 or 80 years old that comes into my yoga class for the first time, not having done anything like that before. It's like, whoa,
It's a big
so
deal for them.
yeah, so, I'm like happy, bubbly Missy, woo, hi everybody, like coming in and just like try to make it fun and try to make it light while I'm sort of like saying, like kind of weaving in the spiritual teachings. But I think I don't know. I guess it's not so much of a, like I just think really hard about, okay, how do I say this or what do it just kind of, I think that I
Mm.
just really am tuned into my audience and who's there and who I'm teaching and, kind of where they're at. And I think that I don't know if it's always been in me. I think that's maybe just been an innate skill that I have. I think just again, going back to my childhood, I kind of learned to the extreme hypervigilance of just always being aware of other people as an empath. Like how are other
Yeah.
people doing and how are other people feeling? And sort of,
Navigating that.
and moving with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I'm sitting here. I've got your. I'm open to Spotify to your music. I was just going down the list of things that really stand out, and I think one of them on the Revealed album was "Unconditional Love." And from the first time I met you, and I described it in the Substack article. And by the way, for those who may be listening, jump on Substack on my DennisHawk.substack.com, and I did an article about you, about Missy. And but the first time I met you, I was in a group of people, and you came up right in that group, and you looked at me right in the eyes, stuck out your hand, and said, "I'm Missy. What's your name?"
Sounds like me. I couldn't remember that specifically, but I was like, yeah, that tracks.
And it was but it was like I felt at home. I didn't feel any inhibitions. It's like I can trust this person. And I felt that immediately. And it's been that way from the beginning. And as we've kind of, crisscrossed and woven in and out, and, as our paths have gone. And I think I felt that. And I'm sure your people in your classes feel that. You show up hey, I've got an 81-year-old body. I know what that's like. I know what it's like to get on my mat and have to, after hip replacements, knee replacements, and all that kind of stuff. And, where I have to pull my leg up to get up to, to a warrior position. And it's like, yeah, that's who you're working with,
Exactly.
in Naples. So
working with you, Dennis.
Yeah. I need a lot of work.
With you. Don't we all? I mean, don't we all? Like, I always joke. You talk about knee and hip replacements. I mean, I always, I make this joke in class a lot. Like, we all come in, we've got like a back thing, a neck thing, a knee thing, a shoulder thing, we all got our things, and sometimes multiple things. And, we just got to show up for ourselves, really, whatever that means, and just do the best we can with what we've got. And it's really a journey of learning to accept. This is, it's challenging, of course, learning to accept where we are in the moment, accept who we are in the moment, and getting out of our heads about how we should be or how we used to be, or what it should feel like, or what, what I should be able to do, or I used to, it's like the mind we always can get in our own way there's so many infinite excuses, things, the ways that we get in our own way, right? Our inner judgments, that inner critic, that, inner voice that says, oh, you can't, or this is too hard, or I'm too old, or I'm too this, or, whatever it is. And
did you start with Baron Baptiste? So did I.
I mean, that is crazy.
That's fascinating.
I know. I totally had forgotten about that, actually.
The hot power yoga, and all the stuff I used to be able to do, and it was like,
and me too. I can't do it anymore either. I'm like chaturanga. Yeah, right. No way. Like hands down, modified plank. I don't do anything crazy anymore at all. Like, I'm like,
now this is
all the way.
I know we're talking about something, Kari, that you aren't in on right now, but Baron Baptiste was just, I mean, kick butt yoga, fast, hot, and boy, you go to your edge. It's like, well, most of the time you're going over your edge, with Baron Baptiste. And so that's where we started. And I came out of a sweat lodge tradition, and it's like, I came into my first class and it was like, this is a sweat lodge in motion. It's just.
That's a great analogy.
Totally. It's a sweat lodge in motion. And it's really intense. But here's the thing, like so of course, over the years, as I've shared, obviously I've gotten older. I've been teaching for 18 years. I was in my 30s now, again, dating
Yep.
myself. I'm in my phase. So I used to, have a younger body, and I used to, just kind of really enjoy just because being a
Mm-hmm.
former New Yorker, being, type A personality, I was like, yeah, this is, because like before I even did yoga, I didn't think that I would like yoga. I was that person. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I was that person. Like, ugh, yoga's not for me. So again,
Here
hello.
you are.
Yeah, here I am. Chanting, Hare Krishna and stuff. But what I wanted to say about that was that the physical practice is pushing you to your edge and, growth and all of that. And there's good stuff there. But I think the older you didn't see a lot of older, people
Mm-mm.
teacher trainings during his classes. It's for young people. However, those teacher trainings, so I did 2-week-long trainings with Baron himself to complete my 200-hour yoga certification.
Wow.
And these week-long experiences were completely transformational.
Mhm.
And I think that I took a lot of what I learned from him, kind of taking what I liked and leaving the rest, kind of abandoning over the years the power stuff, the
Right.
hard physical practice and the heated room. I mean, I don't teach in a heated room. Um, but the way that he infuses spirituality and personal
Yeah.
growth and personal transformation into his classes, I think he is one of the best at that I've experienced. And I've studied with a lot of, very well-known yoga teachers, have done a lot of trainings. And he's really he takes from, I mean, he pulls from, I mean, as every teacher does that creates their own style of yoga. Baptiste yoga is really grounded in a lot of, stuff from, Landmark, the old Est training,
Mm-hmm.
all that stuff of, kind of coming to terms with your ego versus the true self. There's a lot of that in his teachings, and it really informed me. I mean, that really, I think doing that teacher training gave me the courage to take the leap of faith, to leave that old persona of this, corporate, doing what everyone expected me to do self, having the perfect resume, to taking the leap of faith to teach yoga, which like I never imagined that I would do, because I was like, well, what if it doesn't work out? Then I'll have a gap in my resume, like if I teach for yoga for a year and then I try to go back and get a sales job, what are they going to say? What are they going to think? I mean, it's crazy stuff,
Oh, yeah. By
like
the way, if
that's,
you're hearing a dog in the background, that's my new puppy who I had to put in the kennel, and she does not like it. But just so that you know, that if we've got this background
Oh,
howl in
I
the
can't hear
background,
it,
so
Dennis.
yeah.
okay, all
Okay.
right,
Yeah, not
yeah, I
through
can
the
hear it.
headphones. I think Maddie's being just fine. Yeah. So, Missy, kind of what I'm hearing you say is that when you studied through the Baptiste
It's
is that
Baron.
there are many roots feeding the core of what formed his unique teachings.
Uh-huh.
Yet the roots inform, and you have done the same thing. You're this magnificent tree with
Yeah.
your own root system, with
Mm.
these glorious branches. That's how
Oh,
I see you.
that's so
Yeah.
lovely. Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
I suppose so. I mean, I think I've taken, what I learned from him, and you just take little nuggets of wisdom, gems
Hmm.
that you embody and inhabit from teachers, along the path. And I've done the same with all of the kirtan artists that I've loved and admired and studied, and just, came up with my own very, I think, unique style of kirtan, which you don't hear many kirtan songs that sound like
No, you
mine.
blend, right? It's called, did you say new wave? Like a new wave
I mean,
kirtan?
when people ask me, like, I say that I made a kirtan album and I was a kirtan artist because I was leading kirtan. I'm not
Mhm.
doing that anymore. For
Okay.
7, 8 years or so, I was leading kirtan with a kirtan band on a very regular, frequent basis here in town, and also touring around a little bit. I didn't tour as extensively as other kirtan artists do because I was raising my son and I didn't
Mm-hmm.
want to. I think I probably could have, gone a lot further, whatever further means in a kirtan career. I mean, I played the main stage at Bhakti Fest. I kind of felt like that was the pinnacle of success as a kirtan artist. I was like, well, where do I go from here?
Yeah.
Like touring around and sleeping on people's couches when my son's at home. I just,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like there's no money in it. They don't put you up at the Four Seasons
Mm-hmm.
when they bring you in for kirtan, even a Motel 6, you're couch surfing. And I
Mm-hmm.
just, I had a career teaching yoga, I had a job, so when I'm not teaching yoga, I'm not earning money. And so to go on the road and, make $100 here, $100 there, I had to make a conscious choice, not to do that. And so I think, I probably didn't get as much of, well known or, in the kirtan world as other than the exposure I got at the festivals that I played at. But, I don't remember where I was going with the story. But, in terms of like the style. So I just, so I did lead kirtan for a number of years. But when it came to really making my own music, I think that I just, again, felt that I just had to express my individuality and not do
Mm-hmm.
what I think everyone else was doing. And I think a lot of people, I don't know. I don't know if this is just an internal one of those stories that I have, that we all have stories and belief systems about ourselves. But I always kind of have the story that like people don't get me, and like people even
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say this. I don't think that he would mind that I'm sharing this. Gary Goldberg, if you're listening to this podcast, do you know who Gary Goldberg is?
Yeah,
Karen
well, I do.
Dennis does. So Gary Goldberg is a friend of mine. I met him probably at the same time I met Dennis at Midwest Bhakti Fest. And Gary is a major lover of kirtan and a huge supporter of, Bhakti, kirtan, the whole thing. And he and I did a kirtan radio show together. And we would play all the kirtan artists that we loved. I mean, even though I was a kirtan artist myself, I was kind
Uh-huh.
of his co-host as a co-lover of kirtan and a lover and appreciator and fan of David Newman and Krishna Das and Jai Uttal and all
Mhm.
these kirtan artists that I loved. And so we would play the songs and talk about why we love them. And then, and he supported me when I made my album Revealed. We talked about it and he interviewed me about it. But he said, I remember this just like memory sticks in me because he said something like, when I really listened to Revealed, I didn't really get it, but I kind of get
Really?
it now. Like somehow, I don't remember what song, like maybe something that I said. He's like, yeah, I guess I kind of get what you're doing. And I just felt like, ugh, like my heart kind of sank because I was like, if Gary Goldberg is not getting what I'm putting out with my kirtan music, because it's different, it's not what everyone else is doing.
I got it right away. And and
Mhm.
and the reason I did, I think was it's like you took the theme of the mantra and applied it. You took, I'm trying to think of the attachments right now, but as I would listen to either you would spill your soul on this particular issue and then you would attach the mantra, or the mantra would come and it would open up your soul. And
Yeah.
either way, I thought that the connection was absolutely beautiful. It
Mm,
was like you were applying, for instance, the loving and longing of a Hare Krishna chant, or Sitaram.
mm-hmm,
The joining together of love, and then the grueling departure and the grief and the power of that grief you would
mm-hmm.
express in English. Was it Krishna Das said one time? He said, it's easy to sing in Sanskrit. It's harder to sing in the language that you were abused in.
Oof.
You
Like,
know?
yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think I got it right away, and I thought this is incredibly powerful, and
Mm,
this is kirtan. This is opening up the heart. It's just it's just like surgery, and
mhm.
I just thought it was absolutely beautiful, and so And even in your other music that you say you departed from Kirtan, I don't think you did, because it's still opening up the heart.
Yeah.
And that's
Thank you,
what
Dennis.
Kirtan is.
I just love
And
you. Like I said,
that
It's
was,
just,
yeah,
it's
that
just
was
the truth.
great.
like Dennis, you get me,
I do.
you get me.
Yeah, it's easy.
But I appreciate it. And especially from someone who, spent a good part of her life not feeling gotten. It feels really good and nourishing. And I appreciate that.
Well,
Well,
Kari had the same
we see
experience
you,
because we've talked
Missy.
about it.
Oh,
You're
You know,
seen here.
thank you.
And there are people who also feel the same way. And when they listen to you speak, it gives them a groundedness within themselves because they can see themselves through you and your journey because it mirrors theirs. And your music, in bringing in English with the Sanskrit, speaks to those who might not always get the pure chants. They might not understand. They might feel the vibration, but when you bring the English in, it's like, okay, now I can attach deeper meaning. Like, you give a scaffolding that's not typically there if people haven't
It's a
studied
bridge.
it.
Yeah.
It's a bridge. Yeah, a bridge is a great word. Uh-huh.
I think that building on what you were just saying, somehow, not necessarily intentionally, I think that's just how my writing came forth and came through me.
Right.
But I've always felt that it was sort of a special skill, or maybe what I can bring, like my own essence, what I bring into teaching yoga. I think I applied to creating music, and that I'm an entry point, I think, for a lot of people on their spiritual path. Whether they're coming to a yoga class for the first time, or maybe they've done yoga before, they haven't experienced a teacher quite like me who's, singing and sharing the things that I share in class. But also, coming to Kirtan as somebody who is a seeker, who maybe doesn't even understand why they like it, but they feel something when they go to a
Right.
Kirtan or they hear, my music, that I think sharing who I am and modeling that, like you said, is somehow serving as the bridge for them to feel whatever comes forth or comes through them,
Mm-hmm.
listening to what they wouldn't necessarily get from just listening to a Sitaram chant. But when they hear, who am I am the love inside, like reminding myself, like, all right, or I am all I need. Those two songs really have a similar
yeah.
sort of theme to them, that, it's all inside. It's like this, if I'm looking outside for love and approval and validation, it's like, where am I? Who am I? Um, and like bringing it back to the heart, bringing it back to the self, that if they hear that, then they're like, okay, wow, I can feel that too.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
offer a beautiful gateway, doorway, whatever you want to call that, something that they can step through into their inner self because you hold that space in such profound love
Yeah.
Thank you.
and presence. Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You need
By the
both.
way, I woke up the other morning singing "Now"
Oh,
in
that's
my
great,
head
Dennis.
because I'd been listening to your, to your music, and what I loved about that song was the demand for
Now.
speech.
Yeah.
Now,
That's why
tell
I call
me
it now.
now.
It's like, I'm
Don't
not
tell me. I don't want to wait till
I'm
tomorrow.
messing
I don't want to
around.
wait 15 minutes. Tell me you love me now. And boy, I would really love to know where that came from, but because all these songs have stories. I
Oh
see
yeah.
that. I see that
This
look on your face. I
this one has a story. I'll share. I mean, because I'm, an open book. I share, this. So now the demandingness of, I need to hear you say you love me now, is coming from a feeling of desperation.
hmm
So it's like, you can say like, oh, you're so demanding, like, I need this and I want this now. And I don't mean you, I mean one, could
Right.
listen to that and hear that. But this was a moment with my partner. So I've been in, beautiful, loving relationship, engaged now with my partner for 7 years. But it took me a long time to find my partner, to find real love. I struggled a lot with relationships um, in my life. So this particular moment was several years ago. I wrote the song and I guess it came out in, I think, 22. And probably this happened the year before. We've been together since 2019. That doesn't really matter. The point is, so we were having a moment. We had attended a show and there was some stupid argument or some stupid, miscommunication moment that, happens sometimes in relationships. But given, what the baggage that I was coming into the relationship with, despite all the healing that I've done, we all have, personal triggers, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
so he, walked ahead of me, walked in front of me, and just I felt like abandoned in that moment. Like I felt like, you're walking ahead of me, you're, turning your back on me. And so, in the beginning of the song, the lyrics are, disconnected, all alone, you walked away. Now I'm waiting
Mhm.
by the phone. I mean, that was a little bit of a wasn't exactly like I was waiting by the phone, but that was the feeling I was conveying.
Mm-hmm.
Don't hurt me. I need you. I'm dying inside. It's like this feeling of like, I need to feel that connection, even though it's within, right? It's like, this has like been the path. When you're in relationship, it brings up so much of your stuff, right?
Yes.
So it's like you
Yes.
can feel so strong within yourself, but when your partner, when you feel that moment, and like he and I were so connected and we're so in love. So here I am feeling the safety of finally feeling like I'm in a happy, healthy relationship. And then in a moment of disconnection, even though that's a normal thing to transpire in relationships, it feels like the ground is just like coming out from underneath me. And I'm like going to sink into like a deep well of despair. So, like, so
No, I
where the
and
song came from, like, and I felt so it's coming from a like needy, like, I need to feel that connection again. I need to feel that you love me. Like, I need you to tell me, like, it's going to be okay. Like, we're not going to be over because of this one brief moment where we're disconnection. It feels like everything is ending. And I need you to, just reassure me that you love me.
like Radhe felt when Krishna walked away.
Dude, yes.
Woohoo! That's great, Dennis.
There you go. Bringing it back to the kirtan. There you
Well,
go.
that's why I say you have not walked away from
I
Kirtan.
haven't. No, I
It has
haven't.
not walked away from you. Kirtan is like bhakti yoga is the spirituality of opening the heart to what spirit has, and we're living that. It's hard once we're connected to the kinds of things that Kari does and you do and I do. You don't walk away from it. It's in you, and that's in that song is the Radhe Krishna dynamic of that pulling away. And
What? That's so true. And just that feeling of, and I think relating it to bhakti also, and to the heart, it's like the vulnerability. I mean, it was really a vulnerable place that
Mhm.
those lyrics sprung forth from, of like just, and the vulnerability is the opening of the heart, right? It's like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
here I am. I'm showing this vulnerable moment. I was exposing this vulnerable moment in my relationship in that song. And just moving through that fear of showing who I am, which is really like the theme, the thread that goes through all of my songs,
Hmm.
not being afraid to be real, you
Yeah.
know,
Thank you for sharing. I
put it
think
out
that
there.
really helps anybody who's listening to this. I think most people can relate to something like that and to honor it within themselves as well.
Thanks.
Hmm.
It's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to
It
share
is.
things like that, like things can look really perfect from the outside in anyone's life. And especially, we live in a world, that's, we're all like in social media and looking at what other people are doing and what they're experiencing. And I mean, I personally am not posting things about my personal life on social media. I've chosen to, remain pretty private, but like, I think that, what I'm sharing is, comes out through my music. It's like my personal way of kind of sharing who I am in a deep way. And it's just, I think it's not meant for, I mean, it's public, but not everybody is. I think that, whoever is meant to listen to it or whoever's meant to find it will find it and get something from it. And I have to just release and let go. That's another one of my favorite mantras. I release and I let go.
Release and let go.
I said that's a lyric in Burn also. Release and let it go.
That's right.
I say that in my classes all the time. I release and I let go. Just, it is what it is. Like, here I am as I am, take me as I am. This is,
And Missy, I'm curious, I know you taught yourself to play the harmonium. So can you share a little bit more about that and how that evolved?
Yeah.
A little bit. Yeah. I'm curious.
That's a great question because I did not grow up with any music lessons at all. I was not a musician. I didn't think of myself as a musician. Didn't think of myself as a singer even. I was a dancer growing up. So I danced ballet and then I started dancing like jazz and modern. So I did that all through my childhood. I was in a professional ballet company when I was little. I went to Austria and Hungary when I was 12.
Oh,
so
wow.
I had a belief system. It's like we believe things about ourselves, right? Like I had a persona. I was a dancer. And when I got into middle school and high school, I performed in musicals because I love musicals and I really love to perform, if you can't tell. So I'm like, I like to be a ham. I like to perform. I like to be on stage. I guess it's like I'm an Aquarius, but I have a Leo moon, or right? The sun sign is the main sign and the moon, I don't know. Anyway, so the Leo I know is like likes attention or whatever, but I'm really an introvert, believe it or not. I'm an extroverted introvert. Anyway, that was a little sidebar there. So I love to sing, but I didn't think of myself as a singer. I was a performer. And when I fell in love with Kirtan, jumping ahead. So I think my first Kirtan discovery, believe it or not, but going back to Baron Baptiste, he had Krishna Das show up in person as a surprise.
Wow.
Not at the week-long teacher training, but I was an assistant at one of his weekend trainings. I did a couple of those. And he had Krishna Das come in as a surprise. Everyone's in Shavasana. And he played Krishna Das. He played, so that was really my first exposure, even in my teacher training. He played God is Real. You know that song?
Yep.
Hare Rama, Rama Ram, Sita Rama Ram. That Krishna Das voice.
Yep.
I mean, it's so powerful. You're in Shavasana, you just like sweat out your guts and you're like, and it's just like you feel this like voice like coming into your soul, like just seeping into every pore. So that was like, wow. And then he had Krishna Das show up at one of them and start singing, which was wild. So anyway, I don't know. I just wanted to share that little anecdote, but I just fell in love with Kirtan, and my main moment. So I would sing along with Kirtan songs in my yoga classes, which I'm still doing to this day. So that's what I started. I started playing Krishna Das and Jai Uttal and David. I started like kind of figuring out who the Kirtan artists were. Because back then, I mean, it wasn't as popular, and nobody in yoga teachers were not playing Kirtan, at least in my experience at all. So okay. So this is what happened. I decided to go to Bhakti Fest in 2010 in California in Joshua Tree, the main Bhakti Fest, because I loved Kirtan, just because I loved Kirtan, because I'm a yoga teacher and I'm playing Kirtan in my classes. And I saw that they were having, Bhakti Fest, Joshua Tree. I'm like, I'm going. So I went, and I remember it was Sean Johnson. I had also attended a workshop with Sean Johnson once. He came to, it was a yoga journal conference in Fort Lauderdale. So I did a workshop with Sean Johnson. And I remember we were like doing like rhythmic stuff. I just thought he was like the coolest, which I still do. I love him. And I went to Bhakti Fest, and I'm watching, Sean Johnson singing on stage, and I just felt this overwhelming, like, energy move through me, like tears streaming down my eyes and my heart just like, and I just had this moment like, I want to do that. It was just like a message that came
Mhm.
through me. I was like, I want to move. I want to do that. I want to be on stage and I want to be sharing my songs. I didn't even know that I had songs yet. I want to share my essence the way he's sharing his essence because, you know, I'm sure you're familiar with Sean Johnson's music.
Mhm.
I mean, he does that in such a way. Like, I mean, there's so many
Distinction.
beautiful artists, but like, he's one of my favorites.
Potent.
Mhm.
Potent, 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 potent. And I love that word. And I had this like Oprah Winfrey aha moment. Like, I want to do that. And it came from nowhere. It was like just this message. And I went home and I was like, oh, I don't know what to do with that. So I contacted, I was friends with Win Paris, rest his soul. Win
Mhm.
Paris had contacted me. I was singing response for Win sometimes. Like, I'd go over to Miami and sing with Win.
Nice.
And Fort Lauderdale. I did that a few times, and Win was selling harmoniums, so I bought a harmonium from Win Paris, and I probably looked at it sitting on my floor for about 6 months before I figured out how to do anything with it. And then I, you know, was fooling around with it, but I really didn't know what I was doing. And I ordered Daniel. So I went to Jai Uttal's Kirtan camp in 2012.
Yay, Jai.
And Daniel, what was his last name? He came out with a DVD.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
What
whole
was his
series. Yeah, a
name?
whole series on harmonium. I don't
Daniel.
remember his last
I
name.
cannot remember his last name for the life of me, but he was great. He was at this
Mhm.
Kirtan camp. I met him, bought his DVD. I did that. And then I hired a teacher here locally I said, I want to start playing. I started like learning covers, like Dave Stringer, like Devakinandana Gopala. So I was like, teach
Mhm.
me how to play this. So I learned, you know, the chord progressions and I started fooling around with the chord progressions on the harmonium. And I started learning covers. And that's how I
Oh.
started becoming a kirtan artist, playing Dave Stringer and playing Krishna Das. I played Baba Hanuman. I learned that. What was one of the first ones I learned? I played Shiva Om by David Newman. What else? I don't know. So I started off with that. And then all of a sudden, I think all I need was the first song I wrote. I just sat down one day and the words just like came out.
Mhm.
And I
That
just thought of a melody. It was just like I had no idea that I could write music, that lyrics were going to come out. I think that it just came from this divine calling, that somehow this message came through me. I had this intention and I don't know how else to explain it, Kari. I just manifested it. I
You
just
did.
manifested it. I just put one foot in front of the other and I had this like vision. And, you know, the craziest thing was when I said I want to do that, that was in 2010. And in 2015, I was on the main stage at Bhakti
It's
Fest.
really remarkable.
You know,
And not only did you like manifest, but you manifested because you listened and you did take those forward steps. You
Mhm.
followed that call that was like a download, right? And then you zoom.
exactly.
You
It was a download.
yeah.
But you can get a download and not do anything about it, right?
Exactly, but you
Yes.
did something about it, and here you are today, and we're all connected, and it's remarkable. It's beautiful. I
Oh,
love how
thanks.
you've shared your story. And I don't know if you have a final question, Dennis. We're almost at the top of the hour.
You know, I had something and then it went right out of my head, but I was just sitting here. Oh, I know what it was. This is a good way to pull things together. It's like, so recently I was talking to Missy, and I'm trying to seduce her back into kirtan, uh, to do those songs that you learned at the beginning,
Mm.
to as a tribute to these beautiful
Oh,
people that
yeah.
brought us
Mhm.
this thing that we can share and is being shared. I'm watching communities pop up all over the country, and
Yeah.
it's like, uh, it almost brings tears to my eyes. I'm so grateful to Krishna Das, to Jayutal, to Sean Johnson, to David Newman, to Wah, to
Wow. Yeah.
to the people. Yeah, because Wah was the one that
Big
I
time.
went to. I opened for her,
Love her.
and then she introduced me to the next, and just like opening for Wah. Are you kidding me? I didn't know who she was. And then I
Yeah, like,
found out.
I can die now happy, like
Yeah, exactly.
a
And
moment of, yeah,
and
achievement.
and so this is me trying to seduce you back into it's like I don't know if the journey's over yet.
I
And
don't think so. I don't think so. And I think, you know what, go
Hey,
ahead,
no,
Missy.
it's not over. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Kari.
No.
I, I just put out my Aham Prema chant
right.
recently. So, that was a little bit of a departure. I worked on that with Tim McGarry, who is my writing and producing partner. Obviously, I had written Aham Prema years ago. I was performing it at Kirtans. I probably performed it back. I'm sure I performed it at Midwest. That was one of the first chants that I wrote, but it didn't make it onto my Revealed album. For whatever reason, I just had, all of these songs, and like that was the arc, that was the journey that I came up with. So I didn't record Aham Prema at the time. And I had different people over the years. I actually met someone at Bhakti Fest Midwest who came up to me the next year and showed me she had Aham Prema tattooed on her wrist. And she said, "See, I want you to know that
I
I
like that.
tattooed Aham Prema because of your song, because when I heard
Yeah.
you sing Aham Prema, I was like bawling with tears,
Aw,
and it was so touching."
touching.
I was like, if this song is really powerful, and I had multiple people kind of share with me, like, you got to record Aham Prema. Why didn't you put, So I did. And Tim and I, I kind of, I kept it to the original feeling, it's call and response. It's really, besides JC Aram on my album, it's really the only classical kind of call and response kirtan chant that I have recorded. So I really kept it to the original, and but kind of put the modern sort of funky little bit of a, more beats and more electronic sounds in it. So I brought that up because I'm not completely done. I felt the calling to put Aham Prema out there. I wouldn't, say that I wouldn't do anything else. But when Dennis approached me with this new idea, when we got to talking about paying tribute and doing covers and kind of making it go full circle, right? I talked about doing
Uh-huh.
covers. I mean, I was just like, it was an immediate yes, like a capital Y, capital E, capital S, yes.
Beautiful. Yeah.
Like that really, that lights me up, because I wouldn't be where I am without, the path that they paved before and gave me the impetus, the courage, the conviction, the just, opening my heart enough to really even make me discover that I was a kirtan artist myself and I had something to share. So I'm very excited about this new project, Dennis, that we're gonna do. Very
It's
excited.
very exciting. And what I want to say is what both of you have just the verbiage that you both have used really ties into the whole revival mission that Dennis is anchoring in for a collective community. So that is bringing sound and music together for the offering and the service of healing, and then getting these exquisite communities that are all over the globe more connected in tribute, in extending peace and harmony that's so needed and it's being called for. So I love it how you both really kind of segmented into this uh, uh, full circle. I'll say that. I don't know if there's anything else, Dennis, but I wanted to ask Missy if there's like any wisdom nugget that you would like to leave. But before we do that, do you have anything else, Dennis?
No.
Okay,
I
so I'm
probably
going to
have
ask.
tons, but we will have
Oh,
other
well, yes, I
conversations.
know. We'll maybe do another one of these, like part 2 at some
When
point.
when we release our first tribute song, then
Okay.
we'll have to do another one,
It's going to
to
be
do that.
great.
There's
Yeah.
just
So,
there's so much to talk about, and I
I,
appreciate the opportunity that both of you have, given me to share a little bit about my story and who I am, and how I can just share what I can share with the world and hopefully make it a little bit of a better place, you know,
you
and
do
just
make it
help with another
a
journey.
better place. You
Well,
do. So, how can people find you? Like, why don't, from your words, where can they find you?
so I guess, the easiest way to contact me is via my website, missybalsam.com. I have, I'm on social media. I'm on Facebook, Instagram. I'm not on Twitter or X, but I am on Instagram. Missy Balsam is just my name. My music
Great.
is all under my name, Missy Balsam. I'm on all the streaming platforms,
Great.
Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Music, all of that. I would love you to, check out my music and, reach out if anything touches your heart, if you just want to connect. I'm always happy to hear from anybody that wants to connect. So,
Thank you so much. We just want to make sure anybody who listens to this has a way of connecting with you through whatever platforms they choose and to listen to your amazing music. Just really thank you for shining your light and being with us today. And we really, really appreciate you and we appreciate your time. And Dennis, I just want to say I'm so grateful that you are choosing to do these podcasts. They really matter and they highlight wonderful people like Missy.
well,
Yeah.
thank you for being the
And
co-host on this, and I
you're
really
welcome.
appreciate
Thanks
that.
for inviting me. It's an honor.
So, as we bring things to a close, this segment, and I hope, we can do more of these with you, Missy, but as we bring this to a close, we are the Revival. The Revival. That's right. You heard me right. Vibal.
Revival.
Changing the vibe, moving things up, where we dive into the power, the healing power of music, of sound, and trying to knit the communities together who are doing this beautiful work. And I want to give a little plug. I make these. These are Native American style flutes. And if you'd like to buy one of these from me, they're beautiful. If I play it on here, it probably won't make any noise, so I'm not going to. But you can get those. And Kari, where can they find you?
They can find me also on Facebook and Instagram. I'm launching a new website, Inner Origin LLC. It will be launched. My goal is by the end of the year. I've had to push that back a little bit. We can list my contact phone number at the bottom. And I work with people who really seek to become whole, and I do that through frequency therapy, quantum modalities, sound, light language, um, holding space that's safe so that they can shed and dissolve the patterns that don't serve and come into wholeness. It's a journey. It's been a journey for each of us here.
Amen.
And so we know how to hold the space. And it's really important. It's really important to hold the space in that center of our hearts, the center of our souls that reflects the love that's there for everyone.
Amen. So, in closing, namaste.
Namaste.
Yeah.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you so much.
Sri Ram Jai